It's 4 o'clock on a Tuesday, and you know what that means, don't you? It's time for another exciting episode of Taxi's Quarantini Happy Hour. Yeah, baby. Thank you, real band. Thank you, fake audience. Hello, everybody. Let's see if anybody shows up. Today's episode was not announced, and so far, we've only got Akira Canyon and Kristen Knight in the room. Let's see. There's Jesse J. Peck. See who else gets the little alert thing and shows up for this. Buffering? Oh, no. Anybody else getting buffering? Hopefully not. Hey, Justin. Hello, Wind Chimes. Safety orange, my favorite color. No buffering here. That's good. All right. Woo! Yeah, I wasn't really planning on doing one today, but starting to bounce back a little bit, although I still feel like I'm jet lagged. And it's not like I was doing physical labor or anything, but, 40 straight days of working and the adrenaline just being on 10 the whole time. Eventually when you quit doing it, the adrenaline takes... it just feels like jet lag. That's all I can tell you. But pretty happy with the way the rally turned out. Great to see all you guys here. The regulars are here. Giovanni Lanza, hello. Stuart McClellan, Karen Brasher. Karen's jet lagged. Let me scoot this over a little bit. There we go. Now I can read the whole thing. I'm actually still so tired. I keep waking up at like 4:30, 4:15, 4:45, 5:15 in the morning. It's my body got conditioned to those hours because the stress and the adrenaline would wake me up no matter what time I went to sleep. So I'm really glad to know, Aaron Northern, I'm not off. I did take most of yesterday off. I didn't know what to do with myself, frankly. I'm so used to being in like worry mode, got to get this done, got to get that done, that yesterday when I actually had planned to take the entire day off, I didn't know what to do with myself. So I went to In-N-Out Burger for breakfast at 10:30 in the morning and then went to Costco and spent a couple hours there just kind of wandering around aimlessly like somebody that just got let out of a senior home on a day pass. Oh, man. Thank you, Dave Merkel. Kristen Knight signed up for Stephen Memmel's follow-up class. Yay. Karen Brasher says the rally is better than any university course. Thank you. Am I finding myself sitting in front of the camera for no other reason than you think you need to be? I don't know. I gotta say, there were many times during the entire rally that I would see you guys in the chat room and just wanted to hang out like we do on the Quarantinis. But I had to kind of be professional and not, like I am on this show. What was tough about the rally was the planning was intense, I gotta say. Greg, our technical director, who was here for the Friday, Saturday, and Sunday broadcast, did an amazingly good job, much more complex than you could possibly imagine. I'm going to show you some stuff in a minute. I've got some still shots to show you once the room fills up a little bit. Anyway, what the heck was I talking about? See, I'm still brain dead, but no gophers or squirrels today. Hello, Lane Bell and Shrek. Hello, Simon Burnham, Debbie Ward. What the heck was I talking about? I don't know. Whatever. That's the cool thing about hanging out. Oh, as I would see you guys, I would go, hey, how are you? But, I figured there were a lot of people watching the broadcast or in the chat room that don't know the drill about the Quarantinis, and so I couldn't be as informal as I am here. But, worrying about... just all the technical stuff. And we had a few of our guests had really bad connections. Of course, we sent out confirmation documents to everybody saying, jack into your Ethernet. Please don't use Wi-Fi if you've got to use Wi-Fi. please make sure your kid's not playing like Call of Duty or something. And of course, we had some where things were just really shaky. Bob Mayer's whole Wi-Fi, his whole house, his internet just went down. So we had to grab him the second time he was on a panel on his cell phone using just regular cell phone signal. And even that wasn't good. So he was like, that was pretty funny. In a few minutes, once the room fills up, if it fills up, who knows? Maybe nobody else will show up, and it'll just be whatever it is, like 10 of us or something. I'm going to show you, give you some real behind-the-scenes stuff that nobody else is going to get to see, but that's because you guys are my special people. It was hard, and there were nights like Thursday night. I was up till I think I quit working at 2:30 in the morning, went to bed at 3, got up at 6, and I was writing the questions for Stephen Pressfield, and I wanted those to be so good. I mean, the guy's been interviewed by Oprah and a bunch of other people, so, and I'm really impressed with him and just wanted him to be impressed with the rally, so I had to work hard on the questions and not just... I talked to him beforehand, and I said, I don't want to just... take a page from the book and say, well, on page 74, you said this. Can you explain? Because people can go buy the book. But he was such a great guest. He was just, such a nice man. And what a big brain that guy's got. It's like he remembers everything, and he can just rattle this stuff off. It's like he can speak in bullet points. It's very impressive. Ordered Aaron's book, too. I don't want to get screwed. I butchered the title on her thing when we first posted like the initial schedule for the rally, and it just said "How to Not Get Screwed" by Aaron Jacobson, and she called me up. She goes, "Michael, you left out the second half of the title. Can you fix it?" So what were some of your favorite things? Who were some of your favorite guests? What were some of the most important things that you learned? I'm curious. Hello, Bob Gunnerfeld. Oh, I'm so tired. By the way, I'm so tired that literally my eyes are like fuzzy and I can't even really read the thing without squinting a little bit. And I don't need glasses. I had cataract surgery like 8 or 10 years ago, and my eyesight's pretty good for an old dude. Hello, Linda Cullum. How are you? You are welcome. Giovanni ordered the taxi mug. Yeah, we tomorrow's emails that are going out with the new listings will have a banner in there with a link to the taxi store. We'll keep adding more stuff, but for now we've got mugs, I think, in 4 colors. We've got T-shirts in several colors. We've got those 3/4 length Raglan T-shirts. They're like baseball T-shirts. We've got hoodies. Yeah, hoodies. Let's see. So Ozzy says, that's a Ozzy? Yeah. I'm telling my eyesight is that blurry. Stephen Pressfield and Steve Barden. Yep, both great. Composer catalog. Oh, I felt so terrible. See, that was one of the things I messed up, is I had 2 versions of Keith LeBrandt's video that we did sitting on my desktop and had them titled very similarly, and they both had the first frame looked remarkably similar. So when I handed off the videos to Bria and then she uploaded them to the cloud for the technical director, the one that went up was the one that I sent her, which was the wrong one. And so that was a little embarrassing. Felt really bad for Keith, but we've reposted it on the Taxi TV channel. And so the right one is up with all the screenshots and stuff that you need. Let's see. Saw on Facebook that Robin wants to know who called her the ultimate song scientist. She wants to use that. Thought the session with Bobby Borg and Michael Ames was so informative. Yeah, that stuff just blows my mind. Both of them are really smart. Michael Ames is like a savant. That guy is incredible. Always nice to see Rob Shirelli and Ron Harris speak. Both are genuine and helpful and just cool to listen to. Yeah, they are. Love those guys. It's so funny. I mean, literally, I'm looking at my webcam right now, and right next, like a quarter of an inch to the right of my webcam, I can see Rob's chimney. The other night, Thursday night around 7 o'clock, I went over there to borrow one of his Gauge 87s. I had a Gauge 47 here, but I didn't have a shock mount to put it on my desk stand. So I went over there to get an 87 with a shock mount on it. That was the first time Rob and I have seen each other since January. So it's been 10 months since we've seen each other. And, you know, I mean, we're literally like brothers, and he lives 4 houses away. But, hey, that's the quarantine. Patrick Adams still misses the Westin, the camaraderie and the vibe. Yeah. You know, I want to give a shout out to Robbie Hancock, though. I thought he did a really good job. I stopped in Saturday night to his Zoom hangout. Robin Frederick was holding court that night, and I thought that was cool. It was, you know, I mean, the next best thing. I mean, it wasn't as good as actually being in the Westin, but it was nice. Marty Dodson, Ronan Chris Murphy, Jason Bloom. It's so funny, you know, how everybody likes different things. That's great. Great to network with members throughout the world. Did you get a head count of how many people attended this year? We had 2,703 registrants. I just double-checked that number this morning. Let's see. Looking at the Jay-Z microphone website, and Rob reviewed one of the mics, Small World. Yep, Ronan Chris Murphy. I watched that whole video. I thought that was great. Yeah, of course, now, you know, a few people, we're getting a bunch of emails. If you guys want to send an email telling us how wonderful it was, if I can be so immodest, so we can use, you know, quotes for next year's rally promo next year. Oh, man. But a few people have said, hey, why don't you do a real rally at the Westin and broadcast it virtually? Well, I've never been fond of that idea, because if we do broadcast it virtually, people, you know, half the number of people are actually going to show up, especially people who've never been to one and don't understand how great the networking is and how many deals happen as a result of just being in the bar, the elevator, the hallways, all that stuff. Milt Reader, how are you, buddy? Good to see you in here. Yep, that's my halo up there. Oh, people point that out all the time. It's become a thing. You know, actually, when we were setting up for the road rally, and the video guy said, you sure you want that light on? And I said, yeah, as a matter of fact, not only do I want it on, but he had like a $4,000 camera sitting in front of my face instead of my webcam. And I gotta say, the webcam looks almost as good. But he said, do you want that light up there? And I said, yeah, actually, people have become very accustomed to it. I want to get the shot exactly like it is for a normal taxi TV, and that thing is my halo. And once he heard halo, he was like, hey, Milt. He was like, oh, I get it. Just shows, I think, a lot of myself. Right. You can send emails to memberservices@taxi.com, and we're circulating them around to the whole staff and keeping a stash, and we'll pull some quotes out to, you know, to whatever. I am brain dead. I should have done the show today, but I figured it's you guys, you know. You would be very forgiving if I wasn't totally on my game today. All right, so I promised you guys, we're 14 minutes in, and I promised that I would give you guys a little behind-the-scenes stuff. You know, it's funny, now that the sun's going down sooner, it's harder to get the lighting right. And I've got a second light. I've got like a big soft light, like one of those big soft boxy lights, you know, with the cloth front on it. And I had that set up in the house to give additional lighting, which we would crank that up at the end of the day when the sun goes down outside. I've got the big picture window open, but there's not a lot of light out there right now. So anyway, but my wife looked at me Sunday night about 9:30, And she said, "Are you ready to move back to the office yet?" I mean, our kitchen table, which is a 72-inch square table, it's between the kitchen and the family room. And it's the table that we always ate dinner at and stuff. Now, we're empty nesters, so we eat on TV tray or TV tables, watching TV now, just the two of us. But yeah, I've completely overtaken this 72-inch square table since March 25th, I think. And I think my wife's grown a little tired of it. Man, I wish I could read better. Oh, ML, tell us about the hot mic situation. Oh, yeah. Yeah, what happened with the hot mic was that was the only equipment failure we had during the entire road rally. Just as we were finishing whatever panel that was, he was using an iPad or some kind of pad as a mixer. And the thing just freaked out and just shut down. But when it shut down, it left the microphone open. And of course, I didn't know, Bria didn't know. I could see that Greg, our tech, was looking panicked, but didn't know why. So hopefully I didn't say anything profane. Was the photographer bummed that he didn't get to shoot the rally? Or relieved? Probably bummed. Those guys get paid pretty well, and frankly, I really like them both. Jim DeModica, who is the guy that shoots like the first half of the rally and then the tail end of the rally, has been a friend of mine for probably 20 years now. I love his work. He's such a great photographer at the rally. He captures moments really, really well. His shots always look great, and I felt bad because those guys, are not inexpensive. They're reasonable, but it's still, having people there like 10, 12 hours a day, it adds up. And so, yeah, I was bummed out that Jim wasn't involved this year. And you didn't all find a leak. Okay, good. I think, did I say something? I think I just did a panel. I've never gone into a road rally before, ever. In 23 previous years, I have every question for every panel written out, a multi-page document for every panel with a headline on it, what time it goes on, what time it ends, the panelists' names, their bios, all that stuff, and then all the questions in the order I want to do them. And I'm so well prepared. Sometimes I'm still working on it at Wednesday night at midnight before I drive down to the hotel. But I walk in there so well prepared that I'm not panicked at all. I know that, barring any technical problems, we're good to go. This year, it was so much more work than I ever could have imagined that I wasn't as prepared with all my questions in advance. Like I mentioned, rewriting Stephen Pressfield questions at 2:30 in the morning the night before. I had to get up at 6 and interview him at 9. But I ended up ad-libbing questions to probably 4 or 5 of the panels. I would just jot down a couple on a piece of paper, get the ball rolling once the conversation started. I know the topics well enough. I know my panelists super well. And it worked out really well. And I think when the mic was still hot, I said something like, oh, maybe I should be, ad-lib all the questions for every road rally from now on. I don't know. Is that kind of what I said? Yeah, Bria did come back just to help out for the rally. It was very, very sweet of her. She now lives in Kentucky, and she flew out here on Sunday afternoon. She was here with me Sunday night to get stuff ready, and then Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday for the quarantinis. We both thought Thursday might be a little bit of a coasting day, but it was not. It was mad prep for the rally. Then she was here Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, and she flew back yesterday. Probably arrived back in Kentucky around dinner time, I'm guessing. So, yeah, I was extremely grateful. Young Bria, I've known that girl for 10 years, I think. I met her when she was 15 years old at her first or second road rally. And she really grew into the job. I have a rule. I won't hire friends. And you just can't hire friends because either they're going to quit someday or I'm going to fire them someday. And, it's generally not a happy ending, so to speak. And I'd known Bria for a bunch of years. And then she called up and said, I'm moving to Los Angeles to pursue my career as a singer-songwriter. Do you guys have a job opening? And I said, no. I don't hire friends, and you're a friend, and you're a member. But you know what? We could use you for a couple of months to do outbound phone calls for the road rally. And she just knocked it so far out of the park making those phone calls that we had a little bit of a behind-the-scenes huddle and said, you know what? Got to break the rule. We want this young lady on the staff, and we hired her, and she just did great work for Taxi. So when she was moving to Kentucky, I was really bummed out we were all bummed out to lose her. She's contributed a lot to Taxi. She really has. And I don't mean to be ageist about it, but for such a young person, she, very adult-like. Adult-like beyond her years, probably. And so originally, I was going to use her, I think, like part-time remotely, but I never really wanted to have a remote staff before. I like having everybody under the roof. There's better communication, all that stuff. But then not long after she moved back, Isaac, who was the person that wrote the listings in the A&R department, announced that he was leaving the company, and Bria was the first person that popped into my head, and I called Tom, our head of A&R, and said, hey, I want to hire Bria, because when Isaac said he was leaving, I remember, gulp, it's like, oh, crap, don't need this right now. I was happy for him. He got a job with a publishing company in Hollywood, but I was really stressed out for about 5 minutes. I remember I was standing in our bedroom when I got the phone call, and next thought that popped into my head was, how about Bria? And I think the reason she popped into my head was that she and I have been working very closely together for years now on marketing stuff. And when Bria and Ariana and I, the three of us, were working together, we made a pretty strong triumvirate and got a lot of work done. And we're very efficient, and we all kind of propped each other up or caught each other's mistakes, all that kind of stuff. So it was like the perfect situation. And I knew that Bria understood Taxi's vibe really well, its ethos really well, and most importantly is she knows my writing style, and she's edited a lot of stuff that I've written over the years. She's also the person that for several years now has been loading the listings into our email software every day. So anything that I don't catch in the final edit of the listing, she does like a final edit of the listings. So she was very familiar with them, plus she's a musician. So we took a chance, but I didn't think it was going to be much of a chance, frankly. And she has just hit it out of the park writing listings. She's done an amazing job at it. And I did mention to her when she moved to Kentucky, I said, I want you to put the rally week on hold. This was before we were for sure going virtual. If it was going to be a physical road rally, I was going to fly her out for that because she makes a great little queen bee, at the registration area and plays a bunch of other bases or positions, I guess we should say. And then when I found out we were doing it virtually, I knew I had to fly her out because she's always been a great technical backup for me. She's really good with Wirecast, which I knew we'd be doing for the for the prequels, was all Wirecast. And then once we had Greg here, we used a system called vMix. That was what we used. It's several notches up. Wirecast is much more sophisticated than Zoom. Zoom is like a Tinker Toy app that works pretty well for what most people use it for, but it doesn't have a lot of the features that you need to be a little more professional on the technical side as far as like bandwidth control, things like that. So like with vMix, we actually had a green room where Bria would be calling the panelists a half an hour before, getting them in the green room, making sure their lighting looked good, whatever we could do to, just get them situated and ready to go. And then about 3 minutes before we'd go live with the panel, we'd say, okay, bringing them out of the green room, and then they would go into a preview shot, and then at the top of the hour, we'd hit go, and they would all move over to the shot that you guys got to see. Let me get caught up here. It's my first rally. Really like the virtual format, mainly because I wouldn't have been able to make it in person under normal circumstances. Oh, and thank you for saying that you appreciate all the hard work. So yeah, a few people, like three maybe, have already texted me or emailed the staff or whomever and said, next year, can you do a virtual road rally? Do the physical road rally, but do it virtually. And the answer to that is probably not. We would have to hire multiple camera crews, and just the one guy to be here cost me almost $7,000 for those 3 days. So we would have to have somebody in the ballroom, probably two people in the ballroom, one with a camera on me, another one with a camera on the panelists. And that's just one thing, and then what about the classes and all this other stuff? So I think, if we can have, and hopefully we can, hopefully these vaccines will be out and distributed and people will feel safe by then. Maybe what I'll do is some prequel dates prior to the road rally, but it couldn't be a worse time. I mean, the run up, that week running up to the road rally is usually like hair on fire week. But I did it this year, so I guess we could do it next year, and we'll do some prequels before the actual thing. Do you consider doing something like this, even if there's not a global pandemic going on, like an online pre-rally once a year on the opposite date? Possibly. Yeah, all the breakout rooms. I mean, sometimes we've got as many as like 7 to 10 different breakouts going on while the panels are going on downstairs. So could you just imagine how many video crews we'd need, at like $2,000 a day? And then there's the equipment rental. Not only do you pay for the people, but you have to pay to rent the equipment that they use. Yeah, I'm surprised, frankly, that we had 2,307 registrants, which I never disclose how many members we have. I will tell you that, I've always capped it at 10,000 members, although one time we did do about a year and a half, 2 years, but we had close to 13,000 members. But it's shocking to me that only 2,700 people, which was a good number. I mean, it was like, 300 or 400 people more than we had registered last year for the physical rally. We did have less guests this year because a lot of people bring guests to split the cost of their hotel room, or they bring their wife or their husband, sometimes even their kids, so they can go to Disneyland afterward, things like that. Yeah, people are reluctant to fly so far for a short time, but I've got to tell you, Rosso, we get many people from Europe. If we've got 2,500 people at a rally, it's a pretty safe bet that at least 500 of them have come from Europe, Australia, Asia, South America. We literally get people from all over the world. And I really feel for those people. I've done a fair amount of traveling where I've flown to Europe or the Middle East, wherever. Man, you get off that plane, doing a 12 or 15-hour flight, and you're like, for like 3 days. Some people fly in the day before and just go up to their room and pass out for a day. And they're there, for all the panel stuff. I do not know how they do it, but I really deeply appreciate it. Yeah, New Zealand. We got a lot of people from New Zealand. Richard said it's worth flying from Europe for the convention. Yeah, doing it virtually, nothing can replace the vibe. I mean, I got to say, the vibe in the chat room and the vibe at Robbie's thing, the taxi family are members. They're just generally nice people. We have very few not nice people. And the vibe was definitely there online, I felt anyway. But it was not the same. You don't bump into a music supervisor in an elevator or a restroom or the bar or the restaurant or the hallway or the lobby outside of the ballroom. And literally, we will get emails for over the next year between rallies, somewhere between 100 and 200 people reporting in that they signed deals because they were introduced by a fellow member to a publisher. They met a music supervisor and ended up having lunch with them. That stuff really, truly happens, and it happens a lot. Do you usually have a meal break at the road rallies? Yeah, we do. It's usually at least a couple hours. Yeah, we have a lunch break. Yeah, every day we want people to eat. We're really big on people having food. All right, so I want to show you guys something. I think you'll be able to hear me talk over it. And frankly, it's going to be so small on my screen because I've got like a cigarette pack size shot up there right now. But you are going to see you're going to see a piece, like a third of the spreadsheet. And this is something that was just, it's called Run of Show. And it's a spreadsheet that we put together after weeks of deciding what the panels were going to be, who's going to be on the panels, reaching out to people, dealing with their availability or not. And I put the panels in an order. I don't know if people notice that, but I try not to put like the heavy duty stuff up front. I'll start out. I build over the course of the weekend. It's like I try not to put a panel out there that should not precede a later panel. So we put the kind of 101 classes earlier and the 201 classes and the 301 classes, kind of like that. Do the best we can. Sometimes we have to make exceptions based on panelist availability and things like that. So once I've got the panels lined up and once I've got the panelists confirmed, then I had to build in 15-minute bumpers so that we could have people in the green room. And then we had to deal with putting out the live videos and the timings of everything. So much planning and thought had to go into it. So once we've got all that done, which is about, I believe, 4 other documents that eventually get distilled down into, and what you're going to see is like 1 day's worth. And right now you're going to see about half the page. In a minute, I'll put up the other half of the page. Thank you. Yeah, I was worried about the prequels. I was doing my own live video switching while I was interviewing people, the music and the title cards in and out and that kind of stuff. And of course, can't forget iCarly. All right, so here comes this panel, or the run of show sheet. I'll leave it up for a minute because you should really not just glance at it. There it is. Let me know that you guys can see it. All right, you got it. Cool. So yeah, I mean, just look at the timings on the left column of that thing. I can't really see the sheet here. It's really tiny for me, but wowsome. Yeah, Bria did all that data entry and she got it 100% right. Here's the thing, is if you make one little mistake doing any of these entries, if you're off by 30 seconds, or if you have something that should be, starting at 3 o'clock goes in at 3:05 or at 4 o'clock, it messes up the whole rest of the thing. Is it out of focus for you guys? Giovanni says out of focus. Who is keeping track of the spreadsheet during the show? That's great. Great question. Bria was kind of like a stage manager. Greg was our technical director, so he was like the video setup guy in the TD. And the night before every episode, or before the next day aired, he would do what's called building the show, which is taking all these elements that are mentioned on the sheet. Here, I'll pop up the other one now. So there's the right-hand side of that page. So all that stuff then would get translated into this title card, that music, this shot, that shot. Is it a 2-shot with dissolves? Is it, a 1-shot with me starting out? So, for instance, he would lay out a timeline of all these shots. So that's why everything had to be perfect and super well thought out, because for him it was just click, 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 and it would move from one shot to the next to the next. So we couldn't make a single mistake, because even if we did, building this whole thing up, if Bria had done a data entry mistake loading this thing into the Excel spreadsheet, then it would have messed him up for the entire weekend. Everything had to be perfect. And then once it was all loaded in, then he would go home at night, and the next morning he'd come an hour before and fire up all the gear, make sure that everything was in there, and then just sit there and go boom, boom, just pressing that button, going from one thing to the next thing to the next thing to the next thing. Let me go back to the chat room so I can see what you guys are saying. Only note would be to use a half-hour breather midday Friday. Yeah, you know what? I couldn't afford to put any more half-hour breathers in there. And at some point, one of our sponsors dropped out. I can't remember if it's Saturday or Sunday. And that would have just messed up everything. It did mess up everything. So luckily, about a day or two before I had Bria work on this sheet for Greg, I had to rearrange everything, and but I had to do it in a way where we didn't wipe out any of. I'd already reached out to everybody and confirmed them for the panel times, and had already posted the schedule online. So that's why we had to redo the schedule, and as of November 1st, put up a new schedule. Yeah, and I did pre-record some of those things, like the Barry DeVorzon one and the Keith LuBrant one, which, that was our only big technical mistake, was uploading the unedited version of the Keith LuBrant thing. How much time did I spend planning and recording the pre-recorded sessions? Not that much time on those, conversations and emails and text going back and forth. The actual record time was almost the run time of the actual thing. So, basically an hour. I think Keith LeBrant's thing was 45 minutes. That was one of the things I had to do when we lost that sponsor, was shave Keith's thing by 15 minutes and then build a half-hour break into the day. That was supposed to be a sponsor session then. Yeah, well, be impressed with Bria's formatting. I mean, we got the run of show basic document from Greg, and then Bria had to get it all in there, but she had to do it perfectly, 100% perfectly. Literally not one little thing could be wrong. Okay, so now I'm going to show you... Here, This is what the wiring on our kitchen table looked like. So you can imagine if anything had gone wrong. I mean, we gave up, I think, trying to make the wiring bundled and stuff, because we were a little worried if it was bundled that if we had to rip a cable during the show, we would have to undo the bundle. So it's better just to leave them looking like spaghetti. I'll tell you, my wife, she's so understanding. She really is. She's been putting up with me and the company for, close to 30 years now. Right now I'm sitting here doing something that's almost the quality of the Road Rally, with nothing more than a laptop, a webcam, a USB mic, and my Rodecaster, and, half a dozen cables. If I can figure it out, not that hard. The light bulb is a nice touch. Yeah, I actually didn't realize that was in the shop, but we were trying different colors of, warm bulbs, cool bulbs for the for the softbox. And that was one that was kind of a reddish, orangish glow. We needed something that was more like daylight. Thank you, Nancy. Anyway, okay, so there's the wiring. here's a shot. Whoa, there it is. Okay, here's a shot of Greg, our technical director, doing his thing. So that was basically the view that I had. That's our picture window looking out at the backyard and the mountains and stuff. So that's what I spent all day looking at, other than my screen. I had what's called a confidence monitor, which was a secondary monitor that showed me the live shot. And then I had the chat room and other stuff on my laptop next to that. So I had to keep bouncing back and forth between these things. Giovanni, my ex-wife would have killed me and cut in little pieces for such a thing. Yeah, well, my wife is pretty understanding. It takes a lot to really piss her off. Looks like curling. All right, and finally, let's see. Here's a shot to see what the technical director's little work area looked like, and you can see all those frames of video stuff on the center computer. He's got the audio mixer in front of him. That was the thing that crapped out and left the mic open. But all those frames, that's all the run of show. Everything that went into that spreadsheet then goes into those frames. Yeah, it was not a bottle of vitamins. That was my probiotics. And see that on the upper left corner is that very thick video monitor that you see the back of. Sitting on top of that was like a $4,000 or $5,000 camera that we just had taped up there with gaffer's tape. I was pretty insistent. He was fairly understanding, very understanding actually. It took him a minute to warm up to the idea, but I wanted the shot of me to look like it does every time during the Quarantinis and the regular Taxi TV episodes. The program he used was called vMix, which only works on PCs. So yeah, the confidence monitor was what was sitting in front of me with the camera mounted on it, and then my laptop was next to that, so I had to keep bouncing back and forth between all those things. And then Bria, normally, like during the prequels, Bria sat where Greg is now with just her and a laptop. And then when Greg moved in, we moved Bria over to the island in the kitchen. And so we had to run cabling over there for her audio and her video and a microphone that she used to talk to people in the green room. All this stuff. Anyway. So you get the idea. Now let me go back. Look at that. I've become very competent at video switching. Wow, the light has changed a lot since I started today. All right, so now I can go back to the chat room fully. There you guys are. Yeah, I used to keep my probiotics in the fridge as well, and then I read somewhere that if you can eat a whole bottle of them in a month, there's no point putting them in the fridge. But if you eat them at a slower rate, then that couldn't hurt. I guess it can never hurt. Oh, nor chicken bouillon. Ooh, what I wouldn't give for some of that right now. Yeah, I'm becoming a pro, Akira. I'm getting more comfortable with video. I mean, Wirecast does a lot more stuff than I use it for, but I really want to concentrate on content and being the host rather than, like dropping in. We made the decision before the rally not to drop a lower third, and that's where you've got like the panelist names and title of the panel and all that stuff. I frankly wasn't too keen on throwing the panelist names up there because at some point we'll take segments of the road rally and parse those out and put them out on YouTube, maybe in the newsletter or whatever, stuff that the public can see. And just, people are a little kooky sometimes. And I just didn't really want to make their names even more available than they already will be by being in the videos, throwing them printed at the bottom. So we decided not to include them as a lower third. But, just coming up with, I had to think of, before that document, before the spreadsheet was made, I had to, sit there and visualize, okay, so I want it to open on me, then I'm going to introduce my 3 panelists. So I wanted to go to a quad shot, 4 quadrants, and would say, okay, I need to be in the upper left. That way I could always know where I was. And my other panelists, I don't care where they are, filling in the other 3 boxes. So that was the kind of stuff that Greg needed from us. He couldn't just like turn it on and guess what I wanted, And you have to actually build those shots. They have some templates, a lot of templates you can use, but there were times that I wanted shots that vMix didn't have, like the quad shot and like the 3-pane shot with 3 of us, each of us having a third of the screen. Greg actually had to go in there and build those boxes to sizes that I wanted. And then we had to choose the color, like what color, went between the boxes. Was like a blue starry night background, was an oceanic looking background. They have all these, stock things, kind of like Zoom has for backgrounds that could go behind that. But they were all distracting. So I said, just give me black. And he's like, really? Nobody does just black. I said, no, I want just black. I don't want anything distracting people from the content coming out of the mouths of my panelists. Richard Carr, you need to go back and watch the rest of the episode. I just showed everybody some really cool behind-the-scenes stuff that probably most people will never get to see, but I wanted to share it with you guys because you're my little, my cult. So, my teacher's pets, I wanted you guys to see it. Yeah, Robin's presentation was great. Robin's always great. She's a pro. Well, Rick, go back and watch the rest of this episode if you want to see some really cool behind-the-scenes stuff. Here, I'll just show you 2 real shots. I'll bring these back really quick. Here's the amount of cabling that was required versus my normal webcam and a laptop. And here, that's the video technical director sitting at his workstation. That monitor in the upper left-hand corner, that kind of boxy looking flat screen, has a multi-pound, I don't know, probably about a 5, 6, 7-pound camera taped to the top of it with gaffer's tape, or duct tape as people who don't work in the industry call it. So that's what I looked at to see the panelists, and then I had my laptop next to that. And I'll give you one more quick shot of this. And we had to build spreadsheets for every day, talking about what timings things were, which shots, and who was in them, and what the title of the thing was, and do we have a bumper in, and how long is it, and how long is the music, and what shot do we go to after that. And then there is the other side of that spreadsheet. So the 2 things you just saw comprise most of one day. Look at me, I'm video switching like a pro. Wow, the light is really changing. I started out looking a little like oversaturated and a little pale maybe, and now I'm turning into, look like I just went to a spray tanning place. Oh, man. Yeah, I really hadn't planned. Liz was very surprised. Like, guess what? We're doing a quarantini today. By the way, I want to mention I'm going to do another quarantini on Thursday. And we will do a regular Taxi TV on Monday, although I have no idea what that show is going to be. Yeah, if you're on a PC, vMix, Zoom is a tinker toy. Wirecast is considered pretty darn professional by a lot of people in the industry. vMix is even more professional than that. You could basically run a TV network. You could do a TV network with Wirecast if you got the really fancy version of it that's more expensive than I would pay for or need. But yeah, for the average, webcast, if you've got a Mac or a PC, I think they make Wirecast for both of those platforms. Wirecast, I want to say we've got like a $500 version of Wirecast. There's a free version, which is very basic, and maybe a $200 version of $500, and then like a $800 or $2,000, I forget. It gets expensive. Hey, Darren Moss, how are you, buddy? You know, Darren, I want to let you in on a little secret. The reason that I invited Hookman to do that thing was I had you in mind. I knew you would like that. So you were literally the inspiration for that. Yeah, the prequels, some of the prequels are up to like 5,000 views. The one I did with Carl Richardson, the Bee Gees co-producer, it was so great to hang out with him. I mean, I didn't see the guy for 40 some years, then saw him exactly a year ago at the Criteria reunion. Excuse me. And then didn't talk to him again, until I needed to round him up for the road rally. And he was frankly reluctant. He said, Michael, like, I love you, dude, but do we have to do a thing all about the Bee Gees? I've done that interview like hundreds of times now over the last 40 years. Can we talk about other stuff? So hopefully, you learn some stuff from him. But man, that guy is so smart. He's literally genius smart. I'm sure if you found out if I found out anybody, his IQ is like through the roof. So he's a really rare bird he's super technical and super knowledgeable about where the electrons go, where the zeros and ones go, the physics of sound and all that stuff. I mean, he can rip apart a console and tell you better ways, ways to make it sound better and work better. He could probably reprogram the computer in an SSL. He's that smart. But he's also this creative guy, and he knows what great sounds sound like. So I was so lucky to be mentored by him and the other people at Criteria. Hey, Mark Wiggins, how are you? Yeah, Carl's very nonchalant, very humble about the whole thing. I mean, what did they say? A couple 100 million records. Could you imagine having 1% of retail sales on a couple 100 million records? And I'm sure he drives a modest car. He probably, knowing Carl, he probably buys his clothes at Costco. I mean, he's just totally unaffected by all of it. Literally nothing has changed him at all. Yeah, Hookman's a great guy. He and I met, as we mentioned during the interview. We met, he said, like 8 years ago or something. I thought it was more like 4 or 5 years ago. And then after we knew each other for a year or two, we finally went out for a round of golf one time in Hawaii, and we couldn't get two other people to play with us. So it was just the two of us, in a golf cart for 4 or 5 hours, and we really bonded. And the relationship has just gotten better and better. He's actually done some screening for us. People, I just had a woman go nuts on us, just totally unloading on Taxi Online because she didn't like a critique or two. And it's funny. She, was like, how do we know the screeners are actually the screeners? How do we know the listings are real? And she's putting all this stuff out there in the public. It just blows my mind. But yeah, I mean, here's a guy with hit records on the charts and stuff, and we needed somebody that could do like pop, urban pop kind of stuff. Because our main person that did that moved back to the UK and didn't want to screen, for whatever reason. Once he got back there, he wasn't available to screen anymore. And I called Hookman and said, dude, I need you. I really need somebody with, your genre expertise and your ears. And he could not have been any nicer about it. And he did a bunch of screening for us. So, whenever, we need people like that. And he went through the training and everything. And he's been great. Right, that was the person that said she didn't need critiques because she'd been writing for 30 years. Yep. Did her last name start with a T? No. Yeah, I wouldn't disclose her last name anyway, but yeah, this lady's been problematic, shall we say. No politics, Ken Messford. No politics. Even if you voted for like an Oompa Loompa, we're not talking about it. Richard Carr says, I've been writing for 30 plus years. The critiques are helping me. Great. You can always learn something. I'm always learning. I learn from you guys. I learn from the screeners. I learn from the guests we have. It's like nobody knows it all. Interplay between Michael Lloyd and Shirelli. Yep. Yeah, they first met because of Taxi. It's like being at a long lunch with three funny guys. We've become very close. Rob and I've been close for like 35 years or something. And Michael Lloyd I've known for 20. And the three of us, we go to dinner with our wives. It's funny. Michael Lloyd is friends with Wink Martindale, the game show host. He knows like all these older Hollywood guys, knows them really well. So yeah, last time Michael Lloyd and his wife and Deb and I went out to dinner. We went out to dinner with Wink Martindale. I can't remember which show he hosted, but Wink Martindale and his wife, and we regularly go out to dinner. Remember Johnny Tillotson, the singer from the 60s? He and Michael Lloyd are very close, so we go out to dinner with Johnny and his wife all the time. And it's frequently like Rob and his wife, Deb and I, Michael Lloyd and his wife, and Johnny Tillotson and his wife. Giovanni likes the Oompa Loompas, yeah. Yeah, no landscaping today. No tomato news, no zucchini news. Got a couple of big ones growing out there, and no wildlife. For some reason, I think we only had one squirrel sighting during the entire rally. Yeah, maybe it's because it's cold. It was actually like in the 60s. It got down to 45 last night, I think, and maybe 38 degrees Fahrenheit here the other night. Pretty chilly for Los Angeles. Wow, I can't believe how much the lighting has changed since it's not dark out there, but it's almost dark. So it's like 3 minutes to 5 and getting pretty dark. No gophers were harmed in the making of the rally. I could see some footprints that look to be coyote footprints on our hill that's mostly just dirt, like, I don't know, 50 or 70 feet behind the house. So I'm pretty sure the coyote made a nighttime visit and probably wiped out the remaining gopher that I couldn't. This gopher was so smart I couldn't catch him in the trap. Yeah, I heard Vegas was really cold. Oh, didn't Tony Van Veen do a great job in his thing? He and I spoke this morning for about a half an hour. I think it was this morning. Everything's kind of run together right now, but yeah, Van Veen and I are very close friends as well. And he called me up, dude. So how did it go? And I told him I was really blown away by his thing because he's a very serious business guy. Van Veen has really like big boy business chops. But at his heart, he's a musician, and I thought he was very personable. Mark Wiggins, send me a coyote. You got gophers, or moles, where'd it go? I don't know. Mark Wiggins, you need to buy a thing called, what is it called? Gopher Hawk? Those traps that I'm using? Just Google those, Gopher Hawk. I think that's what they're called. They're these like spikes that stick in the ground and have a snare on the bottom, and you put them between hole A and hole B, so when the little critter goes from point A to point B, they hit a little thing that hangs down. Boom, got them. It's kind of like a vertical mouse trap that looks like I don't know, it's like 14 inches long and 1.5 inches wide. You stick it in the ground, they work really, really well. Yeah, I like those Blackstone grills. Unfortunately, I've got a fairly big grill that we bought like 20 years ago, and we moved into this house, and it still works well, so I'm not going to get rid of that. And I bought the smoker, which I haven't used in the run up to the road rally because smoking anything in the smoker requires a lot of attention. Wow, Rick shoveled snow. in his driveway when he got home. Whoa. Mark Real golfed yesterday. Today in West Virginia. Beautiful. Wow. Yeah, I need a round of golf. Stephen Pressfield and I are going to go out and play a round of golf together. I wish Ralph Murphy was still alive. He and Pressfield would really hit it off together. Anyway, well, it looks as though our time is about up. So I will see you guys. Thanks for showing up today on short notice. Yeah, Pressfield was outstanding, man. That guy, I've loved his books, read many of them 2 times. I'll get him back one day for a regular Taxi TV. I think he really enjoyed the experience. I wish his connection was better. His video was pretty shaky. That was the other thing. Doing live TV when you've got shaky video, and I've got Greg, sitting 5 feet away from me on the other side of the table with all of his gear, doing this and then shaking his head, meaning bad. We could see people's bandwidth coming in. We could see what their bandwidth was at their house. We had one guy, I can't remember who it was, but one of our panelists had like 23K bandwidth. So good bandwidth, healthy bandwidth is like, 3,000 or 3 kilobytes. So 3,000 and up, 4,000, 5,000, 6,000. Those are all good numbers. We had somebody that literally was sending a signal that was 23K. That's nothing. I mean, a tin can with string attached to it would be better than that. But it held throughout the whole thing. But you had to sit here and listen to what the panelist is saying and listen well enough that I could generate questions on the fly, all the while just expecting the signal to go dead and see a big red question mark in the middle of the screen. So there you have it. Thank you all for showing up today. We will be back on Thursday, and we will be here on Monday with another exciting episode of Taxi TV on Monday. How long will the Road Rally replays be available? I'm going to leave them up for members forever, ad infinitum, I think they say. Hey, Ray Hill, how are you? So that's it. Thank you, Karen. Thank you all. Thank you. Like I mentioned at the top of the show, I would see you guys in the chat room, and I wanted to go, hey, to all my regulars, but I couldn't because I was busy and had to be a little more professional than I am on the Quarantinis. So with that, I bid you a fond farewell. We will see you on Thursday. Have a great night, everybody. By the way, for all of you guys, I know some of you already got them, but we actually do have the Taxi swag store open. We've got baseball shirts, like the 2-color shirts. We've got hoodies. We've got regular T-shirts in multiple colors. And we've got some awesome Taxi mugs. And check it out when you order them. We put different little catchphrases underneath the logo. Some of them say, I get my music to the right people. Some of them say, my music is heard on TV. Other ones say, I can't remember. I eat Gophers for breakfast or something silly. I don't know. Whatever. So in tomorrow's emails, banners will go out with the link to the store. And that's it. Where is the store? Honestly, I don't know. But the banners in tomorrow's email will have a link. And I put it all over the forum. I put it as something that shows up everywhere at the Taxi Forum, which is forums.taxi.com. There's a link to the store right there. So enjoy. We kept the prices. We didn't double our cost. We're not making a lot of money. I did this mostly because people kept asking. And look, there's a squirrel. No, there aren't. I think the squirrels go to sleep earlier now. That's it. Bye, you guys.